Thank you guys so much. By the way, hit that like. Help us out. Let people know we're here. I'm going to do one more clip, if I may. Mainly because we haven't covered the border bill part of it, except to, like this morning I dealt with it on the morning show, went into some of it along with the silly video of the dude who's like reporting from the border. It's like, it's insecure. Then the fucking Border Patrol shows up and it's very organized and they know what the fuck they're doing. And there was no Texas National Guard. There were no local sheriffs. It was all federal, Customs and Border Patrol people. And he was like, oh, I guess the federal government is doing its job. Took in an hour, the dude never realized that he was like, huh, in about an hour, I'm going to find out what an asshole I was. Right. Okay. So the major's on in 5 minutes. Okay. I'll try and rush it. So, this is, if I may, real quick, and we're not going to do this whole thing because it'll probably be too long. But this is not a border bill. Okay, first of all, you're right. It's not. It's a supplemental. The Border Act is attached to it, as is the anti-fentanyl bill. These are addendums, dumb fuck. That's because you can only squeeze one fucking vote out of these dumbasses, so you don't split everything up because they'll cave everything. There's something to hate in every bill. So one of the only ways you can get an entire bill through is to attach it to shit where the people who hate this part of it like shit in this other part. And you smack them together and it's a ride along. It's a fucking, what are the bicycles called with 2 seats? Whatever. The tandem bikes? Yeah.
Kilmeade, I want you to do me a favor.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Wrong video. Sorry. Here we go.
There's a lot going on. Let me start with the border news over the weekend. It continued to heat up, and let me just give you a few of the touch points here. More governors traveled to the Texas-Mexico border on Sunday to show their solidarity with Governor Abbott and
and it did nothing.
Federal government.
Yeah, they stood in front of a fucking hold on. Let's try to do this. Yeah. They stood in front of a fucking empty field going, there's really not that many people, honestly. There's more people in our airports on a bad day.
Speeches were given directly at Ground Zero, and the media is dubbing it Civil War 2.0. So they were surrounded by the Texas National Guard, military vehicles, loads of razor wire, right in Shelby Park at Eagle Pass, Texas. Now, over on the federal level,
Also, who knocked the fucking headstock off your guitar, you asshole? Or did you just shove it into the wall? Whatever station that is? The fuck is going on? Wait, what's it? Guitars have a headstock, you dick. This is the neck. You don't have a Steinberger. They fucking... All right, enough. That was for Johnny Million.
The Senate appears to have come to an agreement on... They say it's a border bill, but...
No, they don't.
We'll get into the details here in a second. It's actually a multi-billion-dollar war package.
It's a defense supplemental, dumbass.
Do not be fooled by the name border bill.
It's not called the border bill. It is. The news is calling it a border bill because it's attached to a defense appropriation.
It's not.
You're right. It's not, and it doesn't even call itself that. It's not. That's not what it is. That's why it has a number.
Now it does have some stuff to do with the border.
Really? That's weird. So maybe it is kind of a border bill?
Depending on who you talk to, it's both amazing...
Or who reads it.
...for the border.
I've read it. Have you? Or are you just going to read from a list of talking points that people are sending around like, shit on this, and then people will get mad?
And the worst piece of immigration legislation in history.
That's dumb. No, it isn't.
It's weird how something could be both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. So one of you is full of shit, and I'm going to go with the one that... Democrats and Republicans negotiated this border bill based on stuff that's been in other border packages over the years, and it's very similar to a lot of that stuff. It's, it is, think of it as like how a lot of people say the ACA is really Romney Care with an addendum or whatever. This border bill is arguably a wish list of stuff that Republicans have wanted, border Republicans especially, and Democrats have wanted for a long time, and they're just trying to get it done. So... all those people could be full of shit for years and finally get this passed. And again, I've read it. It didn't take that long. And one, do you think this asshole actually read it? And two, do you trust that because he says so against all the other people who actually worked on it and hammered out the details and all that kind of shit?
Could it also possibly be that all of the border news happening right now is just a song and dance. Could it?
Well, it is if you don't pass something, asshole. Sorry, my left earbud keeps dying. Yeah, it's all song and dance because you mean the Republicans all saying they're against it when they actually want what's in it?
Be that no one is actually interested at all in solving the border problem.
You mean all the Republicans, maybe?
All the world is but a stage, and we are merely its players. Yes?
Oh, dear God. That's okay. People doing something just for show versus the idea that, life is just a play that we go through because we're not ourselves. We're portraying ourselves in the world. That's not what that means, and that's not what this would be. So people bullshitting is not the same as. All right, never mind.
Yes, that's what's happening.
No, it isn't.
For decades now.
No, all the people who support this, the Republicans who worked on it, actually support it. They're not fucking around. They're not lying. They're not just trying to get something through. As a matter of fact, they're more committed to actually getting something through because they had to work with Democrats, and they knew that their own side would come for them.
The border has been enormous political capital for both sides in Washington, D.C.
How? It literally is. How has it been both sides? How is the border fucking both-sided in this? By the way, how has the crush of people at the border or large groups been good for both sides in this? This is just, all right, this I gotta hear.
Republicans love it. Democrats love it.
No, they don't. What are you talking about?
And they never really cared about the impacts to our communities and to our states. Why would they suddenly start caring about it now?
Okay, so are you saying that the Republicans won't vote for the thing that they want to fix because it would fix it and then they couldn't use it for the election? Well, look at that. I agree with you. I don't understand the Democrat part of this, but whatever.
Well, because it's so bad. Uh-huh. So
what? Wait. What? Because the bill's so bad or the borders? Hold on. What the fuck?
Well, because it's so...
Hold on. Say that sentence.
Love it. And they never really cared about the impacts to our communities and to our states. Why would they suddenly start caring about it now? Well, because it's so bad. Uh-huh.
Okay, so the border there isn't a crisis, I guess, is the idea. Agreed.
So we sent our Blaze Originals documentary team down with the border convoy. And boy, did they learn a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that most truck stops have showers, but you don't really want to use them unless it's an emergency. Also, you can never have enough wipes. It's all trucker stuff. Also, get yourself one of those hemorrhoid cushions. Even if you don't need it, you might.
They were with the convoy, but the convoy led them to all kinds of other discoveries.
Uh-huh. Personal discoveries. The life-changing discoveries where many of our Blaze staff realized at that moment that they were truly a woman now.
About the standoff at the border between the state and the feds.
Which isn't happening. We
found something shocking.
Oh, boy. All right. Here it comes.
That no one is talking about.
Something shocking that no one is talking about. What could that be? Maybe that the Grammys don't reward music; they reward spectacle. Everybody knows that. I checked out on the Grammys years ago. I like some of the performances, but I checked out on who gets the award when Metallica lost. So fuck that.
We're being duped.
Uh-oh.
By all sides.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess you have to be like next level fucking gullible. You're being duped by all sides. Then they wouldn't be sides, would they? Why would, if one side wants you to turn that way and blame that side, and the other side wants you to turn that way and blame that side, Are you just spinning? All right.
Here's one piece I can give you today.
All right. But somehow this has to, you have to explain any of this.
Consider this.
Consider this. I, Glenn Beck, am an absolute shithead. What?
Did you hear about a secret meeting? Did you hear that while reports of record amounts of illegals were pouring over our border, this was in December, Secretary of State Blinken held a secret meeting with Mexican officials in Mexico City?
Yeah, it wasn't a secret meeting. It was on their, they announced it. It was on their itinerary. It wasn't secret.
Now, it was reported that he traveled there.
For a meeting. But, you know, when the State Department, the head of the State Department actually travels someplace, it's usually for a meeting. He wasn't, you know, you might be confused because Ted Cruz goes to Mexico all the time, but it's never for a meeting. It's usually just to avoid his own state when there's an emergency.
But the full contents of the meeting were not disclosed. We have no idea.
Well, we do have idea because there was a policy change.
Why is that?
Because you didn't pay attention to the State Department answering questions about that?
Was there an agreement that was made? Were concessions?
Yes. Yeah, they were talking about this particular issue.
Handed over? If so, what did we give up?
Also, what do you think? First of all, let's look at the premise of this entire horseshit, fucking crazy nonsense that he's talking about. Join me for a moment, will you? This is allegedly stuff that his intrepid Blaze staff found out amongst along their many stops on their way from South Carolina to Texas as part of the convoy. There is no fucking way that anyone involved in the convoy is wise to something going on in the State Department that was not released to the general public. What the fuck are you talking about? Huh? I have it written right here. This is from the Washington Post.
Why isn't this meeting discussed in the media when they talk about Civil War 2.0?
Because it's totally unrelated. Why would it be? What the State Department talking to the Mexican government is something that actually fucking happens and is on Earth 1. And Civil War 2.0 is a jerk fest for prepper assholes that you can sell 10-gallon drums of cake batter to.
Or when the Senate hails a landmark border deal. What happened in Mexico? Could all of this just be a charade?
Get on with it. No.
For the people.
No. While they're dealing with legislation to change the border, if it doesn't go through, the State Department and the Biden administration are working on ways to deal with the problem using whatever methods they have in diplomatic uses. God damn it. Jesus, this is lame.
Our Blaze original documentary team might have the real answer for you. The full report is coming out in a couple of weeks. But
in a couple of weeks? In a couple of weeks? It's a crisis, you dumb motherfucker.
We will
tell us so it can be solved.
We'll have more on this on our Wednesday night.
And he means moron. He really does. When he says moron, he means moron.
TV special. This is all breaking news.
If it's breaking news, then fucking say it. There's no such thing as breaking news 2 weeks from now, you tit. Oh my God. What the hell? Breaking news. By the way, how is KC 101? Are they still, does their spare recording room, their spare radio room still smell like feet, ass, and cigarettes? Or
in our world.
Yes, so not Earth One.
And we'll give you all of the full details as we gather everything and make sure it's all buttoned up. Now,
well, then why'd you bring it up? If it's not buttoned up yet, what are you fucking talking about? Say it. What? It's written right there on the fucking paper.
The senators revealed a $118 billion emergency national security supplemental.
Right. It's a supplemental. The vast majority of the funds in it are continuing funds. The emergency part of it is that it has a border aspect attached to it. It has Ukraine funding attached to it. And it has Israel funding attached to it. And those things are kind of happening right now.
Appropriations Act. Wow. So it's an emergency. And it's about national security.
Right. So why did Trump tell him it can wait?
So what did we get? Well, $118 billion national security supplemental appropriations act would give $60 billion in aid to Ukraine. Wait, what? So it's $118 billion. Half of it goes to, I thought emergency?
Yeah, the fentanyl and the border stuff is less about how much money is spent there, because there's already a lot of fucking money spent down there. It's what powers the president and the secretary will have. And a change in the asylum rules, which are drastic. And also, it does hire more people. It broadens the standards. They already have funding, but they can't fill the roles because of the older standards about security clearance, because Homeland Security technically oversees the CPB.
See, national security.
No, sorry, it's a CBP.
Supplemental bill. I thought that national emergency was the border.
Yeah, the problem with the border isn't funding, fuckwad.
Because wasn't that why he needed emergency powers?
Yes, the powers aren't the money, though. Money isn't the issue. It's the change in policy. That's what makes it an act versus just the budgetary aspect that it's attached to. Are they all this fucking stupid all the time? Am I just been riding along this, just living in my own little happy bubble well, no. I'm kidding. Glenn is one of the best examples of people who are dumb and conniving. He's the perfect combination of scheming and naive.
Border? So half the money goes to aid Ukraine. They also allocated $20 billion into securing the U.S. southern border. Okay, so wait.
Also, on top of all the funds that are already there, which is a ginormous leap from the last budget on the border. You think that's all the money for the fucking border? That's an extra $20 billion on top of what we already allocate for the CBP.
So 3 times the amount goes to Ukraine.
There's an actual war happening. A war. Tanks and shit and drones and bombs and missiles.
Also, $20 billion for the border, $14 billion in security assistance to Israel, and just to make it all fair, $10 billion in humanitarian assistance for civilians caught in the conflict zones of Gaza.
Huh. Fucking Genocide Joe, there he is again. Like an asshole. He's willing to sign this thing, that doubles the aid to Gaza.
Oh, well, that's... Okay, wait, what?
Okay. The border bill itself was not about funding, never was. They're still adding $20 billion to it. But it was a change in the policy around both asylum and how to deal with people and all the Remain in Mexico and all that kind of stuff. And remember how Trump saying all he has to do is enact the shit that's under Title 42. This is a bridging of the powers available in Title 42 and the powers available in Title 8 and sort of a middle ground between the two that cannot be found illegal by international law, so we can expel as many people as we need without expelling everybody and giving Donald Trump some sort of magical fucked up powers. And they had to thread the legality of it very finely to protect against, psychopaths like him possibly getting a hold of these reins in the future.
$4.5 billion, almost $5 billion to support key regional partners in the Indo-Pacific to deter China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's money in there for submarines too. You pissed about that?
$2.5 billion to support U.S. Central Command operations in the Red Sea.
That's why it's an emergency supplemental. You might notice that there's the Red Sea's kind of active these days. It's earning its name, you might say.
$3 billion for Ukrainians and other refugees displaced. $400 million for the nonprofit security grant program, which helps nonprofits and places of worship to make security enhancements.
By the way, money that he himself has used. He has. I'm not kidding. During the Afghan withdrawal, remember he went over and pretended to be there when he was actually in Qatar in a fucking fancy hotel room, and he shot his show up against a wall over there and had other people fly in there, and they helped coordinate with this like group that was just getting Christians out of Afghanistan. I'm not shitting you. They were only evacuating Christians. Can you imagine what that was fucking like? How do you fucking check that shit?
It would also require the Department of Homeland Security to nearly shut down the border. Now, listen to this. Nearly shut down the border. What does that mean exactly?
Do you think this asshole's going to say what's actually in the bill, or do you think he's going to misread it like a fucking wow, ruin it for you?
Well, it means that we're not going to shut down the border.
No, we're not going to shut down immigration into the country. The border can be shut down based on these factors, which would not allow people to come in across the border anywhere. Anybody across the border and does not have permission, doesn't come through a port of entry, doesn't file an asylum claim in another country and then go through and already have their shit adjudicated, cannot come in, period, end of story. So the southern border is effectively shut. It's open to regular immigrants, including people who have had their asylum claim adjudicated already while they're in Mexico or another third country, and then they come inside. Now, it will not, by the way, shut down fucking LaGuardia or LAX to international flights.
But nearly do it. Now, not today, but that they can do that if the migrant crossers increase more than 5,000 a day on any given week, or if the average daily encounters reach 4,000 people a day in a 1 week span. So,
yeah, you're right. He just said those two numbers for the same period of time, effectively being the same thing. So if over a course of a week, if the number exceeds 5,000, it will, or if it's over 4,000, which I think 5,000 is, and I'll have to check, then they can close the border. Okay, 4,000 is the secretary's job. At 5,000, the president can do it using executive, basically executive power. It's the same fucking thing. If there's over 8,500 at the entire southern border combined for a day, one day, 8,500 people try to cross the border in one fucking day, all along the southern border, Tijuana to the fucking Panhandle, then they shut down the border. One day, 8,500. There are dozens of days when we've had that at one point, especially at the biggest crossing days. And on those days, guess what? On those days, they could shut it down for months at a time.
If there's 4,000 people,
this motherfucker's trying to walk back or walk around what he just
for
said.
6 days, they can't shut down the border. Sorry, they can't nearly shut down the border. At a rate of 5,000 illegal immigrants.
Of course, the border isn't ever shut down in that sense. There's always trucks coming through. There's business to be done. There's legal immigration, legal passage back and forth between countries. People with passports, people with visas coming and going. People who work in Texas and in fucking Mexico going back and forth because of business all the fucking time. You're not going to shut those people down. That's what they mean by nearly.
Immigrants entering the country. That would mean more than 1.8 million illegal aliens would.
No, it wouldn't.
Be coming into the country every year.
No, it wouldn't.
But remember, I haven't gotten to the nearly shut down the border. This is...
By the way, this is there. He's still using the math. You can tell he's reading tweets. So he's still using the math of 5,000 people will be let into the United States every day. And that's, so many a month and then 1.8 million every year. It's fucking stupid. It's not anywhere close to what it says. And this is... If they have 8,500 encounters in one day, or 7 days in a row where they've had 5,000. It basically overwhelms their ability to process, expel some people, and let other people who have a literal, like a genuine asylum case, or they've fucking lost their ID and they're actually Americans and they need to come in, and there's this process for them to get that back and all that kind of stuff. That's a lot. There's a bunch of shit that happens. If that peaks over 5,000 to where it overwhelms the system for more than 7 days in a row, then they could shut down the border entirely. As for anybody who goes through, it goes back to, we just immediately expel everybody. The other thing this bill does, by the way, is that if your asylum claim is not adjudicated in 90 days, in 3 months, right now there is no limit on the time it takes. It's just you hang out until they finally get to you. In the new bill, if they don't adjudicate it in 90 days, you're out. It defaults to a denial. Do you think this motherfucker knows that? Or if he read it, he pretended he didn't read it? By the way, right now it's below 2,500.
Solution today to let an additional 2 million people.
They're not letting them in. They're not letting them in. This is encounters, and they don't have any. And again, he's going back to the bullshit people believed before the 5,000 number.
Just come across our border. Okay, we're a little sick of the 4 million. I think we're a little sick. Let's slow it down. Let's just do 2 million.
That's not it at all. And also, he's quoting the recidivist numbers.
Okay. Now, Chris Murphy from the Democrat from the great state of Connecticut, and I mean that, being here, it is a lovely, lovely state. What they've done with the trash is just wonderful. It really is.
So he's in Connecticut selling books, maybe?
A requirement of the president to funnel asylum claims to the land ports of entry when more than 5,000 people cross a day. This is what Murphy is saying yesterday on X. The border never closes, but claims must be processed at the ports. This allows for a more and more orderly, humane asylum processing system. So, got that? So if it's more than 5,000 a day, then they have.
Sorry, somebody's saying, what did you say back there? I missed that. Somebody said that that 90-day limit means everybody will be denied. That is illegal against our international agreements. No, it doesn't. That's why there's funding to deal with more people. They will adjudicate it. Also, people are supposed to file in Mexico or in the first safe country they come to. So the process starts well before that. If they skip it and they come in the United States, you can tell early on whether they had a chance to genuinely file in these countries. That was part of the meeting with Mexico. If you're in the country for 90 days and they have to go through your shit and they can't adjudicate it based on the fact that you just blew off Mexico, came straight to the United States, more than likely you're not qualified and you know it, and that's why you went to the front. Just so you
have to be processed at the ports. That's the nearly closing the border. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds really bad. This is what, Langford came out and he was like, everybody's saying this is much worse than what we said it was going to be. I challenge the people to come up to me and tell me what is worse.
This motherfucker doesn't even know what's in it. You couldn't explain better or worse.
Well, he's kind of right. Remember when the media was saying, it has none of that stuff in the bill.
It doesn't.
That's an outrage. That is disinformation that those things are in the bill.
It is. That was. He's still doing the math of the bullshit 5,000 people let in a day.
Yeah. Langford, it's probably not worse. You've confirmed everything that we said was in it, that you all were saying, wait until you find out what's in the bill, because that's not in the bill. It's in the bill.
It's not in the bill. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying. Maybe he's just fucking dumb. It's always hard to tell with Glenn. You know what I mean?
Oh, my gosh. With people like Langford, who needs friends? Seriously. Who?
What? You don't have any, Glenn. You don't have any friends.
Who needs friends?
Says Glenn, alone, chest covered in crumbs, sipping a warm root beer out of a plastic cup in Connecticut in his hotel room that's really nice, but no one wanted to go to dinner with him. So he's drinking out of the mini bar, but he unplugged it when he came in the room because he'd watched some video saying that's how they spy on you.
I'm a little confused.
All the time.
I'm going to have to get with the speaker's team on and to find out what part would be worse than what we had expected based on the actual text. It's not worse. It is the text that we said it was, and you said it wasn't.
No, it isn't. It absolutely is not.
Oh, my God. Stu, can you just take over for a sec? Because I'm going to have an aneurysm over here in the corner.
Yeah, here, Stu, try to explain what the fuck he's talking about. Stu, the bar is really high. Try, if you can, to be as dumb and full of shit as your boss is.
I mean, on that point, you're totally right. Like, there was this big pushback from these people who were negotiating it, Langford being key in this room, saying,
are 5,000 people guaranteed to be let in every day? Is 5,000 the minimum standard? That's what you guys were saying, and that's what he just did the math on. You're both lying, or you're both really fucking dumb. And the weird part is, I think it's both.
Oh, you guys are just acting off of rumors. You're acting off of internet posts. You're acting off of false reporting about what's in this bill. I would never allow this to be in this bill.
And he didn't.
And then they released the text of the bill, and I mean, to the number.
Nope.
Almost every single part of it is exactly what was reported. I mean,
nope.
It's bizarre.
It's not even close. Read it again, you dumb motherfucker. Stu, read it again. Draw it again. Draw it again. You want to ambush me? I ambushed you with a fucking cup of coffee.
I will say, when you get to the point of talking about it being worse, I would include this in the worst description. Tell me if you agree with this. There is a provision in the bill that would allow the president. Now, you might be you might not know, but Joe Biden is currently the president of the United States. Okay, so this would be under his authority. There's a provision in the bill that would allow the president to suspend the shutdown authority. It says, quote, it authorizes the president to suspend the border emergency on an emergency basis for up to 45 days if it's in the national interest. So what do you think happens when we get across this 5,000 barrier? Every time he at least suspends it for 45 days, and God only knows if he can.
First of all, no. What color's the boathouse in Hereford? How the fuck should I know? Okay. Stu seems confused that there wouldn't be a provision where the president can both invoke this without the secretary invoking it, and can revoke it without asking the secretary, because he's still, wait for it, the president of the United States. The president has executive authority over his cabinet secretaries, over the department heads. That's all. Would you rather that the president of the United States had to do whatever Mayorkas said?
Do it consecutively and in perpetuity. That's probably what would wind up happening.
No, it wouldn't. Why? I'm dead serious. If they did this tomorrow and it hit, there was an 8,500 mark, and they were like, "Yep, we hit that mark right away." And Biden said, we have to close the border and work on this, and we can't allow anybody else in, and we're not gonna process it. You might hear some squealing from like immigration advocates and some other folks and stuff, but believe me, their plate is fucking full. They have plenty of people in shelters and all sorts of other places to work on their cases and make sure that their asylum claims are heard. But like, they could take a fucking break of the people coming across the border. Let's be abundantly clear. But does this asshole actually think that Biden would go, nah, let him keep going. Give me the power, but I'm going to take it away. As soon as the secretary enacts it based on the standard in the law, I'm just going to revoke it. Get the fuck out of here. Why would he?
Though I'm not sure about that detail. I mean, look, Glenn, you look at the bill, and there are things in here that theoretically would make the situation a little bit better. I mean, there's asylum improvements that
Yeah, isn't that funny? That actually changes the entire standard. and raises it so that people can't just skate through. That's weird.
Could be part of an eventual bill.
Sure. But do you think that eventual bill will give the power to invoke this or revoke it only to the secretary in charge of the border? Or do you think the president should have a say in it, dum-dum?
They say that...
or do you want it... Or are you just a... You know what it is, Stu? You just support the deep state, I guess. Unelected bureaucrats getting to telling the president what he can and can't do.
Yeah. I mean, why even discuss? It's a non-starter because of things like this.
Mm-hmm.
According to the bill.
Okay, according to the bill, and this is him reading someone else's reading of it.
If you cross the border illegally, you get arrested, and then Department of Homeland Security, they decide that you're entitled to protection. They're now able to give you automatic employment authorization.
Yeah, until you have your asylum hearing. Now, a couple of parts in addition to that. They say the asylum hearings are going to come faster, so no more 2032 court dates.
There's a 90-day limit.
Do you believe that?
Yes, it's in there. Right next to the fucking thing you just read.
I mean, this is the problem.
No, it isn't. The problem is that you can't read, Stu. You and Glenn can't read. You can skim, you can browse, you can blather, but you can't fucking read. Welcome to the world of Bongholio. That's where you live now, dum-dum.